So I'm trying to grow my group, and um, it's not as easy as I thought it would be. And what I'm trying to do is actually create natural momentum where you'd actually want to tell your friend and say, hey, you got to join this group because it's awesome. Now, instead of me trying to sell you on why this group is awesome, I want to actually add value to this group. And so I think there's a problem that needs to be solved and really be understood, because there's the gymnastics coaches, drills and skills group, and there's the gymnastics, there's the judges group, and there's the gym owners group, and there's many different Facebook groups that solve certain problems. But the one problem that we're all actually trying to figure out as gymnastics coaches is, how do I create the secret sauce to winning? And why does winning matter? And what is winning? But the problem is, how do I learn how to win? And can I learn how to win? And I'm going to actually agitate this problem for a little bit, because I want you to understand something, that winning is not necessarily getting first place at the podium. I have an athlete, she took first place at level 4 state gymnastics in California. And her father actually told me, he said, winning at level 4 state gymnastics is not actually winning. Because you're really in a subgroup of a subgroup of a subgroup. I mean, we're in age divisions, chopped up into age divisions. She didn't even win all of California, because California is divided into 2 states. So she won Northern California. And she didn't really win Northern California because Northern California is divided up. Okay, so she won a section of Northern California essentially, and then she didn't even win that section because there's age groups divided up. So she really won the age group. And the age group is such a narrow window, that what did she really win? It's not like as if you go to the Olympics and you conquer the world. She just won a subgroup of a subgroup. So is that really winning? We're not trying to figure out as gymnastics coaches how to win a subgroup so we can feel good about ourselves. We actually should be in the pursuit of understanding what it actually takes to win. And it's not like we should be looking at the Olympians or girls that are men that are going, and women or men who are going into elite championship kind of qualifier competitions, international competition, national comp. We shouldn't be looking at them going, scratching our heads going, man, I don't know how they do it. I hope someday I'll be able to coach an athlete like that. But that's amazing. Wow. It's not. Actually, I think gymnastics is probably, and I know this is going to go against the grain, but I think gymnastics is actually an easier sport to win than most sports. Gymnastics is a sport built on predictability. Gymnastics is a sport built on, if you're Kohi, you just win. And you're better than everyone else, guaranteed going to win. As long as you don't get plagued by injury, you're basically guaranteed to win. As long as Simone Biles doesn't get plagued by injury, she's basically guaranteed to win. How much easier can it be? I mean, the Golden State Warriors as a team were like predicted to win and lost because they're plagued by injury. But they also played a really good team, Toronto Raptors, and they lost. And so you see it, that is there a predictability? Is there a way to build in this formula for winning? And there absolutely is. There absolutely is. So you're going to ask me, you're going to say, well, Raleigh, if there's this formula for winning, why aren't you doing it? I am. I am doing it. In fact, I'm not only doing it in the gymnastics side of my business, I'm actually doing it within the 2 locations that I have in my entire company with my business partner. And so we are literally winning in all facets. But the thing that frustrates me is that with gymnastics coaches is there's so much passion and energy that gets put into coaching, and yet there's so little that gets put into understanding what it takes to actually win. And teaching gymnastics and actually winning gymnastics are not the same thing. And being a gymnastics coach and winning at gymnastics is not the same thing. And going to competition and winning at a competition at level 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is not the same as being a coach who actually knows how to build a winning formula to build the winning team that naturally produces winners. Because any of us can pour tons of energy into a person and develop success from that. But to build a team of girls or young men that actually grows winners, to create a culture that cultivates winning, that is apart from us. See, how many of us have ever been in a gym that there's Olympic level athletes, and if you haven't, go hang out at one of those gyms and notice that there's not a lot of coaches that work with that person, that there's a select few coaches. It's not like they have 30 different coaches. They got 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 coaches, but it's not even that many. Okay? And there's a lot of energy that gets put in on that person. And you could almost say that they're more of a favorite because of the time and energy to detail and attention to detail that is given to the person that is at the highest pursuit of excellence. It makes sense. But what if you could create a team of people that pushed everyone else along? So the question would be would you rather dedicate your entire life to one person in the pursuit of excellence, and then you win? Let's say you go to the Olympics and you win, or a championship and you win, but it's the pursuit of your entire life put into that one person, 2 people, 3 people, 4 people? Or would you rather put your entire life into the pursuit of developing a team of people that produces winners? Now, this might take more time, because to develop a team of people, you don't get the same results so quickly. You don't get to see the results so soon. You got to be very selective on who you bring in. But would that produce better winners in a sense than just 1 coach, 2 coach, 3 coach producing the winners? Because as a coach, if you got a 12-to-1 ratio, there's no way that you can make sure all 12 of those girls become winners. You don't have enough time and energy. So unless all 12 of those girls or young men are making sure each other become winners, you can only select your time for 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 athletes. There's going to be bias. It's just how time works. So that's one question, is how are we developing our team culture to produce winners? The other thing to ask ourselves is, does winning just happen by luck? And okay, you say, Raleigh, well, maybe you put this super team of athletes together and they win, but it's just by luck. So, that's another question, is, does winning just happen by luck? Is it predictable? And I would say that the answer is, winning is super duper predictable. It's incredibly predictable. But most of us probably experience winning by luck and not predictability. For instance, the girl who won the level 4 state championships, I had no idea what I was doing. She's just a far better athlete than I was coach. And so that's by luck. I did not intentionally produce a winning athlete. She just so happened to have what some people would call talent. But that's luck. The other side would be to recruit talent. So now I know what a winning athlete looks like. Well, I could just recruit talent. But the problem with that is there's not a lot of talented people around if you live in a small town. And I mean, you got to really look hard to find the talent. You got to put a lot of energy into recruiting the talent. And so is it the talent that matters, or is it developing the work ethic and developing and cultivating and nurturing the person to become the talent? Because how many people that are talented just quit or drop off when they're not interested at all? And so I think there's some things that we need to unravel here. Is one, what does winning actually look like? And is winning just a subdivision of subdivision? Is winning me taking one athlete to as far as they can go? Is winning just luck? Is winning just talent? Or is there an actual clear pathway that someone can build that others can follow? Because to me, winning is no different than leadership, raising up other leaders. And so if you don't know how to cultivate other people to take over your position or to rise up into leadership roles, then you really don't know what it takes to develop to create a winner. And so winning is more about creating a pathway to success than it is about the success that you're actually achieving. If you are reaching success, okay, you go to the Olympics, you take somebody to the Olympics, and I'm not going to be judgmental to people who accomplish that. That's a Phenomenal feat. Congratulations for getting any athlete to the Olympics, whatever that looks like. But where's the path that others can follow? Or is it just a unique experience that no one else can follow? And if no one else can follow that path, then you put all this energy blazing this trail that nobody else can follow. So then there's no leadership inside that. And so then is there really any foresight, and what really is the experience that can be taken away? Because if you don't have the ability to get people there over and over and over and over again, and you can't raise coaches up to take your position when you leave, then what legacy are you really leaving behind, and what path are you really paving, and are you really in the pursuit of winning? How often do professional sports teams fall apart the moment that the coach leaves? It's such an interesting thing because it's like there's no unique person that is so magically special that they're going to create a winning team. It's a collective group of people that come together, that work together, aligning and moving in the same direction, that create a winning team. So the idea that somebody can leave and then all of a sudden this huge dynamic shift happens and all of a sudden you see a winning team go to a losing team, it's an interesting phenomena to me because there's nothing we do or achieve that we can do alone. And we didn't even get on this planet alone. We all have parents. And we didn't even get to where we are today alone. You had to work with people. So to assume that you won because of your effort, it's like you didn't win because of your effort. You won because of a group of people's effort. Well, you may have showed up every single day, day in and day out. It's not actually the only, piece to the puzzle. So is there a way to win? Can you make winning predictable? Yes. Can you guarantee that your athlete will take the journey and go down that path? No. You can create the predictable path, but you cannot guarantee that your athlete will actually take the path. Now, I've seen coaches get pretty good at creating a path, and their athletes look like they're taking a path. And you go, wow, all those athletes look the same. How did they get 20 athletes that all look the same? They'll all look phenomenal. They're level 7s, and they're just kick butt level 7. You're like, they're phenomenal level 7s. How did those coaches create that? Here's what I want to present to you. There's a difference between creating autonomous athletes and creating drones. And just because you can get 20 athletes around the same age and the same body type to all look the same and do the same and look like they have the potential, it does not mean they're going to survive the journey. And this is true because we see that at the top, the highest level of gymnastics, there's a massive, massive attrition rate. I mean, it's pretty significant. If the idea, I don't know what the numbers are today, but I know at one point it was labeled that there was only like 100 women elite athletes. 100. That's not a very big number. And if you look at actually what it takes to be an elite level gymnast, it's not actually that much. So if you can basically teach level 8, 9 gymnastics, you could qualify to go to elite, yet there's only 100. This tells me that there's actually less coaches that understand the pathway than there are athletes willing to take the path. There's a lot of athletes willing to take the path. The reason why they never get there is because either burnout or injury. So you can start off looking really good at level 7 and dominating level 7 and never make it to the end of the journey. And so we can pat ourselves on the back because I got a kid that won state championships at level 4. But if I can't take that athlete from level 4 all the way to elite, then why am I patting myself on the back for level 4? That's like milestone number 1. So what does winning look like? Does winning look like winning level 4? Does winning look like getting an athlete to their end goal? If her end goal is to go to college gymnastics, then is not winning getting her to college gymnastics? If her end goal is to go to level 9 and then quit, is that not winning? But when we take people to a couple steps short of their goal, and we look back and we go, well, you won level 5 and 6 and 7, and I know you got to quit. It's level 8. You've been under rotating your Suks and your Chankos. Your wrists are beat up. You're smashed yourself a million times on the beam. You have fear. You're not strong enough for bars. You got all these reasons why to quit. And so you couldn't get the person where they wanted to go. Is that really winning? Is that understanding how to coach to win? And we're developmental coaches. We are not recruitment coaches. So we're not necessarily, I'm speaking in the sense of what this forums usually should be driven towards is more the developmental coach, not the college coach. But hey, college coaches can learn from this too, is we're generally taking somebody who is of a younger age and we're growing them into who they want to become. And so what does winning really look like? It does not look like beating them up so much that they have to quit the sport at a young age. And so is there an art to winning? Absolutely. Can you make winning predictable? Yes. Because the great thing about gymnastics is this. If you just throw a routine that's identical to Simone Biles, you tie. That's it. Just throw the routine identical to Simone Biles and you tie. That's how judging would have to work. Now, maybe you go ahead of her so that they see your routine first and then they see hers second. I don't know. So then they think she stole from you. But that's the game of this sport is just be predictable. Literally show up and do what you're supposed to do and you win. How many people show up and they don't do what they're supposed to do? That's like the majority of the people who lose. Yeah, you go to a low level competition and listen to what the coaches have to say to the athletes, and it's like there's no miracle sauce you're going to pull out on competition day for a level 5, 6, 7 athlete that's going to magically make them get the skill that they haven't had the entire week. Like if your athlete can't perform the routine for a minimum of a week before competition consistently and hit every single routine, whatever you say on competition day is not going to magically pull out something. And if it does magically pull out something, that's just luck. That's not anything you had to say. That's a little bit more grit. That's a little bit more desire and will. But you can't use that as a method to repeat the process like, okay, so we don't actually need routines the week before competition because I'll just say something magical on the day of competition. Like that doesn't make any sense. And you're not going to win by that. There's no consistency you can build. So what we want to do is understand what does it take to build predictive winning results, and that's really going to start with the path that you're creating. And you've got to, I mean, there's really, what I see is there's really two paths. Is either you're going to be a winning coach and not necessarily a winning team, or you're going to develop a winning team and you've got to separate yourself from that identity. And I'm really focused on building a winning team so that your athletes can motivate one another and that they're self-motivated and that they're driving for their own goals and aligning with one another to help elevate one another to achieve their own goals. And it's not coming from you, the coach. You're just painting the way, paving the path, giving them the steps, and then watching them achieve the end goal. And this, to me, it has much more longevity in the end. And you have to definitely be far more adaptive to the process because you have to be willing to look at the longevity of the athlete and not looking at the short-term winning result. And this leads into why coaches and parents have an issue because they're not on the same page of what winning looks like. For an athlete, winning might look like going level 7 this year. To the parent, winning might look like going level 7 this year. And to the coach, winning might look like go to level 6. Stay healthy. Don't get injured. Don't push yourself beyond what you need. You're at level 7 abilities, but you don't have enough development underneath you that there's no point to go level 7. Let's just go level 6. You can throw the same skills there. The parent doesn't want it, the athlete doesn't want it, that's fine. But that's not what's healthiest. So winning looks like pursuit of what's the most healthy for the athlete, not in pursuit of what the parent and the athlete want. And as you get parents and athletes on board to what real winning looks like, which is longevity of the sport, they start to fall in line and understand the rhythm and the tempo of the process, and they start to understand what learning really looks like, and they start to understand that you actually need to develop the body, the mind, the emotional state of the athlete to really create this winning formula. And so by pushing the limits constantly, instead of developing the capacity of the athlete, okay, if you're just pushing their limits, then you're forcing them to stay in an adaptive state. And to stay in an adaptive state is really where athletes start to break down and overcompensate, and that's really where the plateau and the injury come from, is staying within an adaptive state and constant learning. There needs to be a point where you're growing the capacity of the athlete. And gymnastics is a very high impact sport. there's a lot of pounding and a lot of impacting happening. So if you want to create a winning team, part of it is going to come from your ability to limit the amount of impact and slowly develop the body so that it can handle the impact loads over a period of time. Look at this like the monks that you would see, who are pommeling their hands on stones and hitting each other in the forearms and banging their head on rocks and stuff. It's like they're slowly building up, slowly over years, building up their bones and their muscles to be able to handle the impacts so that they can go on these crazy tours and show and be like, let me break steel with my forehead. So if you're constantly, every single year, upping the game, you can't imagine that the body's going to adapt to those impact loads. That's where you're going to see a breakdown. That's where you're going to see overuse injuries, because the body's not growing and developing and maturing at a fast enough rate at the mind can actually accelerate in learning the skills. And so you might think, yeah, my athlete's fine. She's a level 8. He's a level 9, 10. And they're at this age. They're 13. They're 12. They're 11. Oh my goodness, wow. And then all of a sudden, something comes up. The next year, something comes up the next year. And pretty soon, how many of you and us, how many athletes have we lost because of these little tiny nuances that destroyed the longevity of the athlete that could have been prevented if we understand what a winning formula really looks like and how to really develop a human being into success? Again, in a predictive sport, they don't have to go against an opponent and have to adapt to the opponent. They actually only have to adapt to the environment of the skills that they're actually developing, which means they just have to adapt to predictability, which is a pretty awesome thing. So the more predictable you can create your training program, then the more foresight you have in how the athlete will adapt. And so it's that predictability in training that actually will produce the winning results. So again, if you haven't joined my group, if you're interested in joining my group, if you are in the group, invite your friends and let's start talking about what actually takes to win, because there's a lot more. But I want to know from you, what do you do to guarantee you're winning? And what does winning look like to you? And does winning look the same for all of us? Have a good night.